everybody, and welcome back to a brand new Sims 4 video. And you know what it means if I'm sat here talking to you. That means we're back doing another commentary video. As you can probably tell by today's title, we are going to be talking about just my overall opinions about The Sims 4 at the moment, at this present day, because I often think people just think that I am just a hater of The Sims 4, despite the fact that majority of my channel is me clearly playing it, and believe it or not, I have free will, so I wouldn't play a game that I don't enjoy. But I also want to combine some topics, and there's definitely topics that I want to go more in depth about it. But I want to talk a little bit about my attitude towards The Sims. Why has it grown worse throughout the years and all of that jazz? Let's get into it. So I want to point out from saying I am probably part of the more younger generation, I guess, of Sims players, but definitely not like young. I was definitely more the Sims 3 and the Sims 4 player versus the other two, like the first two, and that just primarily came about the fact that I remember being 8 years old playing the Sims 3, and I'm pretty sure back in the day I used to play on my brother's laptop, and I used to play The Sims 3, and then I think we got Seasons, and they were pretty much the only two packs we had for ages, and then we got Generations, and I can't remember, and then I think we got Pets as well, and then throughout the years we've kind of expanded upon the collection, both me and my brother, and I fell in love with The Sims 3 pretty much from the get-go, and I really do think The Sims 3 is an incredible game. Like, if you've never played it, if you've just been a Sims 4 player, I do think that you should go and play some of the older Sims games, because yes, of course the graphics are a bit out of date, but the amount of detail and the gameplay that you get in those packs are just incredible. Anyway, I was 11 when The Sims 4 came out. I said this before, so that isn't exactly new information. I was 11. I think I even had to get my brother to buy it for me, because obviously, well, not obviously, but in the UK I think you have to be 12, or is it 12 or 13 to buy The Sims 4? I have a weird feeling it's 12. Are they? No, that's film. I don't know. Either way, pretty sure my brother bought it, or my parents bought it for me. But the second I downloaded it on my little purple laptop back in the day, I was addicted. I quite enjoyed it. Now, the thing is, the best way I can describe it is, I was quite an imaginative child, okay? And so The Sims 4 in some ways, and particularly given how dire it was back in base game, was almost perfect for me, because it meant that I could use my very, very wild imagination to do whatever I wanted to do to a degree. And I quite liked the emotion aspect of it when I was younger. I remember that drawing me in quite a bit. Now, I want to say, for the first couple of years of The Sims 4 coming out, because the game, to be honest with you, did feel a bit incomplete, I did go kind of from The Sims 3 to The Sims 4 constantly, but predominantly I would say I was playing The Sims 4. Now, obviously, throughout the years and the packs, I was still a sort of avid Sims player. I very much had a YouTube channel, so to be honest, a lot of the times when I was playing The Sims, I was playing it with the sort of expression to get content out of it, I guess, is probably the best way, versus actually playing it for enjoyment. And I guess when I started, now I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of stop playing Sims a little bit. It was like kind of as lockdown hit, I was playing it less and less, because I have a very, very old computer, which at the time I was running The Sims 4 on, and I want to say, like, even at that point my computer wasn't that bad. Like, it was still processing things pretty good. Admittedly, I've still got it now, but it is like the worst thing ever. Like, it's something I need to get rid of, but I just don't know how to do that. But I've probably had that at this point for about 10 years, like, I kid you not. Anyway, it started to not run very well on my computer, to be honest, and equally I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. Every single time I opened the game, it was like another bug or a glitch would happen. I couldn't play on big lots because the lag would just be so bad. But to be honest, what really got to me was simulation lag, and even to this day, simulation lag absolutely annoys the heck out of me. I hate it. It's one of the most annoying bugs. So I took a break probably in 2021 was when I officially kind of really took a step back from playing The Sims, because I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. It wasn't fun for me, and I just became really aware that it kind of felt like EA was pumping out loads of packs for a game that was basically broken. And this was back in, like I said, 2021, so we are 4 years on from that, and I was thinking that back then. In fact, there is still a really old video, I think it's still on my YouTube channel, called Is The Sims 4 Dying? And I don't really remember what 18-year-old Emma was talking about, but I'm sure she probably had some points to be made. And I kind of took a break, and that's also when I took a step back from this YouTube channel. As most of you know, I've now completed university. We're 3 years older, and I always kind of knew that if I was going to come back to making Sims 4 content, then I wanted to be really raw, open and honest with the fact that I'm not going to be one of those creators that glorifies it, that makes it out that it's 100% perfect. And I do fear that the simming community, and I don't know whether it's because it's like the younger generations now that are coming into it, and if I'm going to be honest, when I was younger I had a really hard time hearing that The Sims 4 was not perfect, because in my head The Sims 4 was this perfect little life simulator and there's nothing wrong with The Sims, was basically how I felt when I was younger. Now obviously as I get older, and you know, I also want to point out I received a lot of packs back in the day for birthdays and Christmas, or I would save up pocket money just to buy them. Obviously as I've gotten older, now I pay my actual money that I go to work for whenever I go and buy a pack. And let's be honest, when it's your hard-earned money, it feels very different from when you are getting it gifted. So yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is I don't want to come across that I hate The Sims, because most of my channel is The Sims content, but I do think we need to be really open and honest about The Sims 4 flaws, because I do think if you don't address the flaws, then nothing will ever get done about it. It will just continue. I mean, EA are like, what, $1 billion company at this point, so they could address the flaws, but they haven't. Now, like I said, I wanted to talk about some of the big points, and a video that I've wanted to do for a little while now is talking about The Sims 4 and like social media, and how influencers have actually really encouraged the growth of The Sims. I want to do that, but I haven't done enough research to make a full video on it. But I do fear that there are lots of influencers that obviously are affiliated with EA that do try and promote The Sims 4 as being the best game ever with absolutely no flaws. And for me, that's just not it. I'm sure if you've watched some of my other videos, particularly at the minute, I've become very aware of like influencer culture kind of lately, and how that's been affecting my life as well, growing up in that sort of world and being the prime demographic, I guess, for influencers. And it is really hard to it's hard to know when you go and look for reviews who's actually being genuine and who isn't. Now for me, I have ever since The Sims 3 loved lazy game reviews, and I also do love Satchon Sims as well for his reviews. I think that he is quite honest with it without being, I don't think he's overly critical, I just think he's honest. But it's so interesting, like when I did my business and hobbies, kind of like the problems, and this was before it was released, it's so funny to me how quick people are to come and defend a game. And I do fear that people forget that it is just a game. Like in one of my last commentary videos, somebody was like, you need to stop feeling victimized by your own desires. It was because I wanted more representation of The Sims 4. That's not a bad thing. The game on the surface comes across really inclusive, but if you look at it, there are still so many areas that The Sims 4 could improve on to make it more representative for everybody. And you know, when you're sat there, and I really debated about whether to reply back to this person, I wrote out a respectful paragraph, and then I thought, I don't think I have the energy. Do you know what, guys? I am all for a debate, okay? And I like a good argument, trust me, I do. But I'm not out here feeling victimized by pixels. Like, and this is the thing, I don't understand that when you attack either The Sims 4 or EA, which may I remind you is $1 billion company, they don't care either way. I don't understand why people take it so to heart. And I do fear that, like, I know that a lot of gaming communities, and to be honest, a lot of stan communities on Twitter, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but used to be, I know that a lot of them get very defensive over the second that you say even anything remotely critical. And that's the thing, like, without criticism, a game can't grow. Without criticism, you don't know where to improve. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think I've ever been disrespectful in the way that I give feedback in my commentary videos. And yet again, some of the commentary videos that I make are not just my opinions, they're like researched. Do you know what I mean? They are opinions that I've gotten elsewhere. They could be reviews from other places. They just an accumulation of things. They're not always just solely my opinion. So am I a Sims 4 hater? No. The game's given me a lot, and particularly in times where I felt like I had a really hard time coming to terms with different things in my life, The Sims was always there to kind of give me an escapism. But I also think that actually if we get into the technicalities of the game, I don't think it's a bad thing to address and criticize it for being bad. Like, subjectively at the moment, The Sims 4 is barely functional as a game. Like, and we're not even talking packs. Like, forget about the packs. Even base game is buggy as heck. Now, to me, what The Sims 4 in its current state, and to be honest, in the last few years, has reminded me of is The Sims 3 and Island Paradise. And when that came out, it was a buggy mess. It was so laggy, and it kind of just felt like The Sims 3 was coming to its natural end, if that makes sense. So obviously I think we had Island Paradise and then Into the Future, I think that was it. And Island Paradise in some ways kind of did feel like it was like naturally progressing to the end point. I fear with The Sims 4 that we are at that point, and I don't think Project Renee in its current state, with it being a multiplayer game, is going to quite do that. And obviously the Sims team have kind of expressed that The Sims 4 is here to stay. The Sims 4 is going to be a thing forever. I don't think it's realistic unless they basically remade a whole new game. We all know that a lot of The Sims 4's problems, particularly now, is that when the game was first being developed, it was meant to be a multiplayer game. For whatever reason, I can't remember, EA chose not to go down that route. I think it's because they play tested it and it just wasn't that popular. So they basically recoded it, and they only had such a short timescale in order to do that. And I do think that has now resulted in the game that we've got today, because the coding of The Sims 4 I just think isn't there to where it needs to be, and it just can't cope with the amount of packs that have been added, amount of updates. And I do fear that The Sims 4 is basically just eating itself alive. It's like internally just eating it up, like without even the help of EA. Basically the game is just breaking by itself at this point, which is quite sad and also really worrying. I mean, the packs, if you include kits at this point, must be nearing the like £1,500 mark. Like, it's an expensive game if you've got all of the packs, and you would expect like the basic bare minimum for the game to run, and for you to be able to play it for like a few hours without a bug. You might get a rare glitch every now and then, but like you would expect it to not be buggy. Whereas like when I record my videos, particularly at the minute, I don't know whether it's just my game, and because a lot of the files I play are older, like, but it is so not laggy but buggy. Like, it's just so buggy, and it's kind of crazy that you can't really enjoy The Sims 4 in its full glory, I guess, because it's just too buggy to actually do it. And it does, like, I would rather them fix the game versus them put out more packs at this point, because I do fear that, like, with the way that The Sims 4 currently is, it kind of puts me off on buying more packs, particularly at the minute, because I've only just bought like 3 new ones, and my game has run a lot more glitchy since. So yeah, it does put me off a bit from buying the kind of last 2 expansion packs I've been wanting to buy. I guess why, like I said, why I wanted to do this video is I don't want to come across as like a hater that I hate The Sims 4, because, and I fear that like the Sims community is a bit too simplistic with the way that it views people. You either like The Sims 4 and you love it to death, or you're a hater. You hate it. And I don't think that's right. I think you can objectively like something but have an opinion on it, and I don't understand why people aren't so receptive to the feedback. I mean, there's a lot of Simmers at this point that are coming out and talking about these bugs and talking about The Sims 4 and the way that it runs, and I don't know why, but I feel like the last 6 months, year, people are a little bit more aware, I guess, of the fact that The Sims 4 at this point does feel like a bit of a cash grab, and are EA actually ever going to address the problems? Who knows? I also want to quickly talk about the fact that one of the reasons that I've been blamed, because I've spoken a little bit about the poor quality of kits, like, not poor quality of kits, poor quality of like different packs, like how can we go from life and death, which is a pretty fleshed out pack. Like, the only flaws in it really is lack of detail in a couple of places, and equally, like, some of it doesn't function very well, but a lot of that is down to a Sims 4 problem versus like a pack problem. How can you go from that to have businesses and little to no hobbies, as I like to say? How do you go from that pack to that pack? And somebody did say that apparently they have different teams now, and I do fear that if that is true, that they need to get communication a lot better, because how are you got one team that is pumping out a really, really good pack and then another team that isn't? And I don't think that's the way to go about it. I just feel like that's where you get this such mismatch of things, and yeah, I fear that that is not the route to go down. I also heard that EA have gotten rid of playtesters, which one of the downsides that people have been pointing out about Inzoi is the use of AI, and I addressed it in my Inzoi video actually. But I just want to remind you all, EA are no better than Inzoi. They're using AI in their game. EA are using AI basically to playtest The Sims 4. So let's be honest, guys. The amount of times I put stuff into AI and it's been wrong has been through the roof. I don't particularly know why we're relying on something that can get it wrong a lot more than humans can. I would assume it's for money, but just because it's for money doesn't mean anything. Anyway, the other thing that I want to say is apparently The Sims 4 is doing better than ever. Somebody said in the last quarter that they actually did particularly well. However, some people had argued that it's actually more so down to the release of The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 versus The Sims 4 actually doing well. So I don't know fully. So what I'm saying is EA probably don't really care either way that the game is breaking, because they're still getting your money somehow. But yeah, I do find it interesting. For me personally, I think I've gone on a bit of a no pack ban a little bit, because I genuinely think that until enough people stop buying the packs, EA won't do anything about it. I do kind of hope that if Inzoi gets some more updates, I haven't actually bought it yet. I still want to buy it. I need to. Somebody said that the specs are a lot lower or something now, so I might recheck to see if it runs on my computer, my laptop, I should say. Because if it does, I actually really do want to try out Inzoi. I know people are calling it a flop, but I don't want to call it a flop when it's in early access. It's a bit different if the game was actually released, but it's not. So I want to give it time to flourish a bit. I also would be very interested to see if Paralives comes about. I know it's a bit more of an indie game, but I haven't actually heard much about Paralives recently. But I really do hope with the kind of competition rising that it might give EA a bit of a healthy reminder that actually the monopoly could come to an end at any point. Who knows? It would be really nice to have a little bit more competition, because I think that's when we would start to get quality. But anyway, all of this to say, I'm not a hater, for sure. I'm definitely not a hater. But I am somebody that is a consumer that has opinions and criticism, because I just generally think at this point the value for money of The Sims 4 is not good, and I don't think as consumers we should just stand by it. I think there are, like I said, a couple of ways we can go about it. You can boycott packs. You could, to be honest, if you boycott the game, I don't think it really does anything at that point, because they've got your money. But yeah, I just wanted to do this video, I guess, as a bit of a round all discussion about The Sims 4 and its current state. And also, I don't know, I just don't know why there's this such divide between the community. And yeah, I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's just like when you're really deep into a passion and a love for something, you just struggle to kind of hear other criticisms and ideas. I just don't know. Anyway, like I said, thank you guys ever so much for listening to me ramble. I haven't had any notes for this video. I just wanted to get some thoughts and opinions off my chest, because I just hate the narrative, like I said, that if you have a negative opinion and it's not 100% a positive opinion and glowing for EA, that you're a hater. I just don't get that mindset, and I don't really get that mindset. I just don't get it. I don't get it. If you have enjoyed, I do have other commentary videos which are a little bit more in a formatted position and a little bit more thought out, and I'll leave the playlist somewhere, so if you want to go check it out. If you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, go subscribe if you haven't already, go leave a comment, let me know your thoughts and feelings right now, because I definitely, like I said, I feel like it's a weirdly divisive topic, and I don't think it should be, but maybe I'm too aware of things, I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your days or evenings wherever you are in the world. I'll catch you all next time. Bye everyone.